My mom and dad spent a winter in Jackson Hole. And then come the spring, there's this race there called the Pole Pedal Paddle. It was just wild and cool to do all these different sports that particular area lended itself to in one day. And my mom, of course, had to enter it. It was from that race in Jackson Hole, it just kind of stuck with her. How fun it was, how unique it was. It was crazy. And when they moved to Bend, I think she started seeing that race immediately in her head. And she got the okay from Bill Healy, of all people, to try to make a race like that happen in Bend. You know, it wasn't started by a race organization or a big group of people. It was just 2 people with the permission of 1 person. My mom lived this whole other world before me. My mom was cool.
They just moved here from Jackson Hole and brought this idea with them, and it was intriguing, obviously.
It's less a race than it is a celebration of our lifestyle.
It was a small, pretty intimate crowd when we started, and now there's thousands.
It's funny, when you win Pole Pedal Paddle here, it's like it's like becoming the mayor, going to the Olympics, winning a pageant all at once. It's a big deal.
People love it.
Someone can be more famous for winning the pole pedal paddle than for winning an Olympic medal.
It's very symbolic of what Bend is all about.
It's kind of like Christmas in May, you know?
A lot of towns have that marquee event, and for Bend, the PPP is that event.
Obviously, it captured the imagination of the local community and became part of Bend's culture.
There's like this gravitas to it locally.
It almost seems like a mockumentary in some ways.
Have a lot of mugs.
It's all about winning. What a crazy, fun, race.
Who would have thought you could have a race starting atop Bachelor and end in Drake Park? We pretty much thought she was crazy.
It just got bigger and bigger.
Oh, it was incredible.
It became the heartbeat of Bend.
And you'd see on the night before the race, the cars would be streaming into Bend.
I think there's still more endorphins at the finish line of the Pole Pedal Paddle than maybe any place else on the planet.
It is part of the fabric of the town, and it also tells a story. And if you look at some of the original people who did the race, they're part of the fabric of Bend. I mean, they are really, our founding fathers and mothers, so to speak.
The first year, I was in the ski business, and the ski shop was just telling every skier that came in, you got to do this. This is going to be really fun.
It was 1977, which was the drought year, and so there was no downhill part to it. So we just started on the cross country, and I was doing the kick and glide on borrowed gear.
You saw the same people on the start line. You knew who was in your age group. You knew who you had to compete with.
I remember being here in Drake Park for the first Pole Pedal Paddle, and my husband and a bunch of his friends were doing it. I don't think I missed a year after that.
The finish was right here in Drake Park, and I was the cyclist, and I passed off to Mary Lynn, who was the runner, came bombing down the sidewalk here towards the footbridge, and put my brakes on my bike, and I remember just flying off the front of my bike, but I managed to tag her on the way. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital and found out that we won.
Made it not out of the Bachelor parking lot and had a flat. Well, because I was in the parking lot, some team member was warming up. They said, "Here, take mine." And I took it, I started right away, and they go, "There might be a slow leak." And I thought, is that a joke? I came to
the area in the summer of '79 to train for the '80 Olympics. And I got here in about April, and someone called up and said, "Hey, I wanted you to do this race. You'd be a cross-country skier." And I had no idea what it was. I just showed up and did it. And started at the mountain. When I got to the park, there was a crowd of people and a little party going on. I was like, this is awesome.
It was loose. It was loose.
People jumping off a bike, legs wobbly, changing to running shoes. The transitions at the water were people falling in, losing their boat.
And so then when I got out of the boat, it was like I didn't have any feet. I took about 2 steps and my calves just seized.
The first time I did it was on a team from Eugene in 1979. And we were the first team ever to use a tandem bike.
And there are always the people who are trying to flout the rules, the bikes, tandem bikes with a fairing and a front chain ring that big around. And
we'd researched it, and there wasn't anything in the rules about using a tandem bike. The rules were pretty sketchy back in those days.
My mom always tells me the story of this woman who had a stationary bike in the back of a truck, and then she was just riding the stationary bike, and then the truck was driving down the mountain. She was riding a bike. They just hadn't really specified how that bike had to get down the mountain.
We actually placed first, but they disqualified us for using the tandem bike.
It was loose. It was fun. It was not hyper-controlled. My mom was their legend in her own right and lived this whole other world before me. My mom was cool.